Well, we do have new spells very specific to, this environment, to this lore, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's a conversation to have about magic in Middle Earth, and Michele already hinted at the fact that we could not translate directly how magic is handled in D&D
Yeah.
to Middle Earth to make justice to what sometimes is called the subtle magic of Middle Earth. So it's not something that is so flashy, so clear and evident, but of course it's present. You can have places that have magical qualities. You have people that have magical qualities, and of course we have the wizards that can do magic. But it is never so flashy or so immediate as it is translated in D&D, but it is still there. So what we did, and I like Michele's description of that, is that we took the approach of how elves describe magic to mortals. It happens in Lorien, where they're trying to explain how the cloaks work, the cloaks that they are given as gifts. They will have them to go unnoticed by the enemy, and the hobbits say, "Are these magic cloaks?" And the elves say, "Yeah, that's what you might call magic. It is simply that they do something so well, what they are created for, they do it so well that can pass as magic." And so we try to do that. And one of the things that we employ is what we call magical successes. That are individuals or things that may allow a character to achieve a magical success. It may be a ring, or it may be an inner quality of a culture, like elves, that allows to have magical successes in some specific fields. So you may have, I don't know, a magic ring of awareness that allows you to have magical successes in awareness. That means that you will be able to see things that are normally invisible, or because it's dark, or because it's cloaked in some other type of magic, like a stealth magic. And so magical successes already do that. And there are many ways you can, even hobbits can have magical successes in some fields.
And you give guidance on all of that. You have, like, whether it's weapons or armor or clothing, you have really great guidance on how to customize this item that you've perhaps given a player that has these magical qualities.
Yeah, I mean, you can create any kind of magical items. The types you see in the movies or you read in the books, you can even create magical rings. So there is a system that is basically a do-it-yourself system for creating your magical items, both weaponry and armor and classical stuff, from D&D, basically, because you still have like +1 weapons and +1 armors, but they have different names and so on. And then you have the other kind of magical items, which are called wondrous items and marvelous artifacts, which are ordinary items that have been turned magical by their craftsman, probably, or by other virtue. And those kind of items allow players to achieve these magical successes, which are essentially automatic success on an ability check with a plus. So you achieve what is normally almost impossible or too nearly impossible, but with an additional twist. So basically the stuff you see in the movie or you read in the book. So Gandalf intimidating Bilbo by seemingly growing large, when he tries to intimidate him back in the Shire, or the back to the magical cloaks of the elves, allowing the hobbits to camouflage in the surroundings. So
yeah, to basically hide in plain sight, or even the famous scene where Legolas walks on soft snow, as if it was solid ground. All these things. What we like of the rules for magical successes is that because it's a general rule that allows for all those different supernatural effects, let's call them like that, that are too different, are too diversified to actually be modeled in an individual way. Otherwise, you would have like 400 pages just on those. And instead, we have a specific rule that allows all that. But there's more. I mean, we have also one thing, about magical items and especially weapons and armor. One of the things we like that works very well for Tolkien is the fact that you don't happen simply on magical items. You don't just find them randomly. There's a way that the game master has to engineer them in the campaign. So you as the DM, you basically create the items that you want your characters to find eventually, and that's tied to the theme, because you are fated to find them. So it's like the ring, like Bilbo was fated to find the One Ring, and so on. So that's something that allows you to time the discovery of magical items for your campaign. Of course, you don't have to be heavy-handed in a way that everything seems to just happen super
That's what's
perfectly.
so magical about The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings is every magic item feels like it matters. And that, like you mentioned, it was fated to happen. Even Bilbo finding Sting, they make fun of Sting, saying it looks, like a dagger more than anything else, or whatever. But like Sting is so important to Bilbo's story. I mean, that's the goal, right? When you're running a game for any player, is you want a magic item to feel like this was meant to be for you. It seems like a prevalent theme in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So I love that you captured that in this.
Magical success is already lets you do much of the stuff that you read in the books. So you can already basically mimic anything that happens by virtue of that simple, very simple mechanic. Actually, still it felt a bit sketchy, especially for 5e system. So we added something more on it, that is the way that we treat actual spells from Dungeons and Dragons in Lord of the Rings role-playing, which are the crafts. Crafts are basically
the closer things to spells.
Exactly.
In
They
the
seem
game.
like spells, but they're not actually magical. They are just a high level of expertise in a field that lets you do achieve, lets you do tasks that are normally impossible to ordinary people. They're not magical. They may seem like magical stuff, but they are not actually. And they were needed for the system, because otherwise, players would either fight or make skill checks. So we needed a third way, something more specific, unique to the setting. So that's how we cherry pick the spells from Dungeons and Dragons, anything that seems appropriate for the setting, and let them be used by players. But we do not say that they are magical. They are just high level of skills. And in conjunction with magical successes, you can actually achieve something that is in the books and in the movies as well. You can create magical items. If you have handcraft, for example, you can inscribe magical runes on items if you have a runecraft, and so on. There is one that I especially like, is Songcraft, which lets you achieve very, very interesting effects by virtue of song, which is a very important theme in Tolkien's work. So songs in Lord of the Rings have magical properties. Basically, they have this very important effect on the world. The world itself was created by music, in the Lord of the Rings.
You can turn any game session into a musical if you want to.
Yeah, very true of how Tom Bombadil wields
Yes.
all his magic is so musically based in the book.